Well, this is rather cool. As you probably already know, the third wave from Groove Synthesis is a bit like the spiritual continuation of the PPG Wave legacy. It's got the original PPG Waves in here, it plays them in the same way and passes them through analog SSM filters, so it really does give you that vintage vibe. But now you can even create your own waves that it will recognize as PPG style and treat them in the same way. Not only that, but the latest update, if you go to the website, you can also find the Prophet VS waves. And for the past couple of weeks, we've been to and fro and I've sent them some of the waves out of this, I've sent them the user waves out of this. So now we've got a whole collection of the user waves plus the 96 factory waves for the third wave. So now you've essentially got one of these. It's the Waveterm. And this was like an early sampler, really. You loaded a sound into it and it chopped up into single cycle samples and created wavetables from it, which you could use in the PPG 2.3. So you can do exactly the same now on the third wave. I'll just explain why that's so cool, because passing the original PPG waves to an analog filter isn't all that's needed to give the synth the same character as those 80s originals. The secret to those crispy little tones isn't just about 8-bit samples. In fact, it's not really that much about that at all. It's all in the clock speed and the number of samples in the single cycle wave. The PPG, the original microwaves, and in the Prophet VS, we had 128 samples per waveform. And that's important because 128 samples is a really high note. It's an F sharp plus 22 cents. Well, it depends on what sample rate you're sampling at. Of course, at 96 kilohertz, it's going to be an octave higher than if you're sampling at 48 kilohertz because you're sampling twice as many per second. Won't go into the maths of it, but the fact that it's a high note means that you don't have to go too much higher than you've sampled, so you don't get as many digital artifacts or like aliasing when you're playing high up because you've already sampled it that high. And the reason they could do that was that these clocked at really high rates. The original PPG was at 240 kilohertz, as is the vintage mode on the Waldorf M, and it was on the original microwave as well. But it just means that you can play these high notes without getting as much aliasing as you would with lower clock speed, where you need anti-aliasing filters, and it wouldn't sound as nice. But it sounds a bit weird down there. I think it's a nice weird, but the reason for that is because we've only got 128 samples. On this we'll need 256 to play the same note because it's going to take twice as long to play it. On this we're going to need 512. On this we're going to need 1024. And on this we're going to need 2048. So here we're playing 2048 samples per cycle to play this note at whatever hertz that is. Whereas here we only need 128. So each note requires a different number of samples. This is why we need processors, obviously, on these things. But why is that making a difference? Well, down here, we've had to add loads of samples. So 2048 is 16 times 128, which means when we play this one, we're playing 16 times as many samples, or inventing 16 times as many samples. And what are those samples? Where have they come from? Well, if we take a look at this, this is the sample of that wave I'm playing, or these are the 128 samples in that cycle, and that's it. That's how we make that wave, and you can see it's almost a sine wave. But when we play it lower down, we're going to have to add samples between each of the sample points in order to make the wave longer. So here we go. This is what's getting played from my Prophet VS down at that low end. And you can see it's just added. If you zoom in, we've got flat spots between each of the sample points. They're not perfect here, obviously, because we're going through converters and there'll be amplifiers and this, that, and the other. But basically you can see it's just creating the same sample over and over, which results in these steps. And these steps result in those weird little artifacts. I've loaded that wave we were looking at in Audacity onto the third wave, and it's also on the Prophet. So and the reason I'm using this wave is because it's so simple. It highlights every little difference because it's such a clean wave to start with. Little artifacts, little bits of alias in there. Slightly different, but definitely the same amount. Same sort of feel. Neither of them are anti-aliased, neither of them sound dull, and neither of them sound super clean either. Where you can really tell that it's working is when we go down to the really low frequencies and we can hear there's no anti-imaging stuff going on. So let's try another wave. Let's load in the other wavetable because this has got a nice sign at the very start. So we're getting slight variations in tone, aren't we? And this is, after all, a 40-year-old synth, so don't expect it to sound exactly the same. But we're definitely getting those lovely little harmonics. And I'm using a sine to show you this. You can hear the VS is a lot noisier than the third wave. But we're getting the same little artifact up at that top end. Wow, that's rattly. That's nasty sounding, that, isn't it? Much cleaner from the new one. What's interesting about these harmonics is that they are harmonics that are related to the original signal, like a spectral image of the original tone, which is why they follow the tone, not like when you get aliasing and it's completely unrelated to the tone. These actually follow it, which is why they're nice and musical sounding. So they're moving as we change notes. And that's why the low end sounds crisp and nice and interesting and characterful, but not digitally nasty. Absolutely 100% getting that same vintage vibe, isn't it? And I don't think anyone's going to expect them to sound 100% identical, but from, as I say, from an artifact perspective, from a vintage feel, from what the sound's doing or what the synth's doing to the sound by extrapolating all those samples, is definitely the same sort of thing, isn't it? Well, let's try a couple of others. Next wave, 97 I'm looking for. Yeah. Super. Looks like a clean one as well. 100% got the vibe, hasn't it? Yeah, bang on really, innit? Or whatever it was playing. Should we try one more? yeah, I think we can say the third wave has definitely encapsulated that PPG Prophet VS 1980s vibe. But what if we did have anti-imaging filters on it? Well, luckily we do have them on the third wave if you want them. So go into Wave Flow, and we've got Waveform Smoothing. Turn that off again. All the madness, none of the madness. Let's go back to that wave, shall we? The 96, the really clean one. Turn it off. That's what it's meant to sound like. So if you want to keep all those VS tones, but you don't like all that imaging, you've got that option as well. Let's go into there, go to the wave. Let's go to some more crazy looking ones. Take it off. See, it's nice then, isn't it? When it's sort of hidden inside the more complex waveform. It sounds like part of the waveform. Let's put Waveform Smoothing back on again. Dulls it down a bit. That's why I prefer it without, but I have been showing it on really clean waveforms just to exaggerate the effect to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Let's try one more, shall we? Something with a few more harmonics in it. Well, let's put the Waveform Smoothing on. See, it's nicer without it, isn't it? On most of these sort of more complex sounds. Back on again. Anyway, the option's there if you need it. So yeah, you can download from the Groove Synthesis website all these waves from the Prophet VS, and it includes my user waves as well from this machine. Enjoy and have fun. And just to show you quickly, we go to global, how to load them. We go into, where is it? Read Wave Maker file. You've got to put the file on the audio folder in the third wave. So using USB to your computer, third wave pops up as a hard drive. There's the audio folder. Put one of the files in the audio folder, do it one at a time. So go yes. There we go. It's found it. It says here PPG Wavetable detected, and that's because there are 128 samples in length, and it's detected the length of that. I think it's 8,192 samples long. That is getting really geeky, isn't it? And just make wavetable. And it's made it. If we go into the wave now, and then load in, go over to the Wave Maker table. This is the other set. Bit more signy, that one, isn't it? I think this next one is, let's go up a couple, 35, so 3, 4, 5. Great, and that's how you do it, and then just save the wavetable. Go back into Make Waves, hit save, and make sure you save it as a P wave. I think it will, always will, because, yeah, it will, because it knows it's a PPG style wave. And then hit OK, and it's saved. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. I really enjoyed playing with the Prophet VS. I do love this thing, and recently I've played a lot with it, and I've especially liked being in touch with Groove Synthesis and sending a few bits over to them. It's been really good fun. Anyway, thanks very much for staying to the very end. I really do hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.